everybody that you're positive, because everybody don't treat you right, So if I can be there for just one person that feel comfortable talking to me to find out whatever, or I can give them some of my experiences, it just depends. Whatever, I try to help them with whatever they're needing help. And if I don't know, I'll ask somebody, So I'm trying to get the group back. We kind of all spread it with COVID and stuff, so I'm trying to get everybody to let them know that I'm back in the office, if that'll help a little bit, so they can come back to us. But like I say, HIV is, I don't dwell on it, it's just a part of me, and it doesn't keep me down. I think I'm still kind of cute a little bit. So I just keep rolling with the punches, and I don't know what else to say. Okay, yeah. Women Rising Project is the support group for women living with HIV and AIDS. And like I said, that's my baby right now. And I am trying to get the ladies to come back. And it's a handful of them still there. And it's a good thing to have it, because when you feel like you're out there by yourself, you seclude yourself, you get sicker, and people need to know that there is somewhere you can go. I remember when I first was diagnosed, that was the first thing I did, was try to find support, because I didn't even tell my family. Maybe, I think I told my sister and my mom, but as far as just telling people, you don't, for some reason you feel embarrassed because of stigma. It was nothing I did wrong. I was in my bed, minding my business. But, different walks for everybody. But to have the Women Rising Project there in place helps a lot. And there, we do have different trainings to keep them to school, give them the knowledge of HIV and AIDS. And I'm an advocate. If somebody can't talk to somebody else, I'll do it for them, And that's a big thing too, is to have somebody speak for you when you can't do it. And I don't mind doing it. I'm still me. Whether you like me because I'm positive or not, if I don't tell you, you can't just look at me and know that. And it's my business if I want to tell you. I don't appreciate people just going around talking about it, but then I don't care, because I'm still Charlotte. So, but that's just me. Some people can't do that. Some people still won't even come out and tell their families they're positive. And that's just because of the stigma, and it's a sad thing that people treat you differently when you just still the same person that you are. So, that's that.
Does anybody have a question or something they would like to? Charlotte was being very open to questions, so if you have one, now is a good time.
I just want to tell you that you are absolutely glowing and beautiful.
Thank you, sweetie.
And
thank you.
the spiritual nature must just be part of it, because you just glow.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy that you're here to tell us your experience. So thank you for your courage.
You're welcome. Thank you. My faith in God is really, really strong. Like I said, I had COVID, and I've never prayed so hard before in my life. I just knew I was going to die. I was really, really sick. And I woke up one morning, and I remember my doctor says, when I found out I was positive, she says, if you can't breathe, call 911. And I got up and walked to the restroom and was going back to the bed. I was like, oh my God, I can't breathe. And I was calling for the boys. Neither one of them heard me. And I had the phone in my hand for some reason. And I dialed 911. And just that quick. I mean, it was really, really scary. But once I got in the hospital, that I don't wish that on nobody, because I couldn't. To be where you feel like you're suffocating, that was so scary, but I got through that, you know. So my faith in God is what keeps me going.
So I have okay, hello. That's I am the product of a fantastic mother and mother, who was very spiritual and believed anything was possible no matter what she was going through. How do you feel, and you refer to them as the boys, I myself refer to as the boy. How do you feel you've encouraged them and really given them something to live a life by? Like, do you feel like you've helped them in any way by just living your truth?
I really do. I try to show them that, you know, to be strong. You know, that oldest boy, Jacoby, at one point when his mom passed away, he hated God. He was just mad at the world because God took my mom, you know. And here lately we've been through a lot of stuff, a lot of things. And now I hear him praying. I hear him talking about God, thank you, you know. And I was like, wow, so maybe he is listening to me, you know, yeah.
Charlotte, I know that you have been very vocal about your HIV and speak to organizations, but that is not necessarily the case for a lot of people who are positive. And for those who are and who are afraid to tell anybody about it, what can you share with them from your life experience that can help them to understand that it's not something that they necessarily need to hide under a bushel?
I know, I think it was in 2009, I was selected for Seasons for Caring. I don't know if anybody knows that organization. And they told me you're going to be in the public eye, the newspaper, the news, and all of that. And I'm like, oh my God, everybody's going to find out I'm HIV positive. And then I started thinking, well, they're not doing nothing. You know, they're not doing anything for me. I'm taking care of me, you know, by the grace of God, you know. And so when that hit, you know, I was out there, and I got some good things said about me, some bad things. The blessings was overwhelming. I appreciate Care Communities for nominating me to do that. And my family was like, most of the time you beating up your own self, because they were like, so why you didn't tell me? We still love you, you know. I was like, oh, you know, and we're thinking the worst when it's really not that. So sometimes it's easy to just go ahead and tell people, you know, instead of holding it, because it's really hard to hold that in yourself. It takes a toll on you after a while. Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the 40th year for HIV, and, you know, it's not necessarily an anniversary that many of us want to celebrate, but it is something that we are very aware of. What is your hope for our future with HIV and AIDS? As someone who has been living with this virus and has been living your truth, what is your hope that today being World AIDS Day, what is your prayer for the day?
My prayer for the day is that it stops, that no more new diagnosis cases come. You know, once they get those that are already done, that no more going forward, that it will stop. And it can be stopped if people do the preventative things, I think.
When you received your diagnosis, how hard was it for you to deal with that?
Very hard. I cried in that doctor's office. I was by myself, and I cried for almost an hour. I couldn't quit crying. I had a cousin who passed away from AIDS, complications a few years prior. And all I knew was you die. And she told me, she said, oh, it's just like diabetes, you're all right. But to me, that wasn't the case. I just knew I was a gone person. And it took my baby that's deceased, I forgot how old she was at that time, to tell me the difference from HIV and AIDS. I didn't even know, I was dumbfounded to that. So, just the knowledge, knowing the difference.
Does anyone else have any other questions? I'm coming right to you.
Good morning. I just had a question about the Women's Health Enrichment Program, and just kind of who would be somebody that we would refer to that program, and how would we go about that?
You call me,
Can you tell us a little bit more about what the program provides?
and it is the support, the support for the person living with HIV. And like I said, we try to lead them in the right direction of getting into care and, you know, stuff like that, the support groups. But yeah, you could call Vitamin Health, and you'll probably end up with me.
And Violet Health is one of our sponsors for today. They're also here in the room, and their information is in your program as well. Charlotte, how important is it for people when they receive their HIV diagnosis to find that help and that support?
I think it's very important. The sooner you can get that support, the better you'll feel about yourself, because you don't want to be out there alone. All kind of thoughts be going through your head, and you might save yourself because some people are suicidal. They think this is just the end of the world. I don't want to live no more, and that's not the case. You can have a normal, productive life living with HIV.
And that is kind of the key right there, is that so many people do feel like that they're alone when they get their diagnosis. Not necessarily I'm the only person in the world that has this, but I don't have anybody to help me through this who will understand it.
Right. You have somebody that you can talk to, that you can relate with, and that makes a big difference. Somebody that's not going to judge you or anything.
Good morning.
Good
Can you give me a number? Okay.
Good morning, I'm Shamara. I would like to know, first I would like to say I'm sorry for the loss of your daughter.
Thank you.
And I would also like to say thank you for your courage and your positive motivation in terms of raising your grandchildren and now being a great grandmother. I think that's so amazing. I'm a new grandmother as well, so, and my mother's still living, so she's a GD. So the question I wanted to ask you, in the spirit of aging and the support groups that you have at your organization environment, do you find that you have more women who are over the age of 50 in your support group, or do you find that they're younger women?
No, we have a few over 50 now. I think the youngest one is maybe 18 that I know of, but there's a lot of over 50. And just to let y'all know, my baby that passed away had sickle cell. So she went to a cardiac arrest and died there in my house.
We've still got a few more minutes. Does anybody else have any questions for Charlotte or any more comments? I'm coming right to you, Barry.
Good morning. Thank you for being here today. It's good to see you.
You too.
Maybe you can speak from your own history as well as the people you work with. But we have a number of underserved populations in this community. One of those are Black women. And can you speak to that issue and a little bit in terms of your experience and what do you think the community needs to do differently?
Oh gosh, the fight's been there for a long time. I've actually, I think this year still, a couple of the ladies have passed away, and they were older. And I won't say it's because of not having all the necessities of just living, but there's childcare, transportation, housing. Housing is one of the main issues. Food is not too bad because we got the food pantries, and a lot of them are on food stamps. So they're being able to get to eat, but just, I don't know, a lot of them, I won't say are uneducated, but haven't gone far in school. So they still need that help to search the resources that are out there for us. But it's, I don't know where it is exactly right now, because a lot of the ladies are spread it out, and with this COVID stuff, everybody's suffering.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I think about that happened around the time when you became part of the care communities, we were reaching out, especially since you mentioned black women, we were reaching out to the African American faith community and wanted to get pastors of the churches to be more connected, more involved, more aware of what HIV was all about. And I still remember sitting with one of the pastors at one point, who after we talked to him, he got very honest. And he said, I want to say this to you. I didn't know all about this. It scared me whenever I heard about AIDS. And I didn't know how to deal with it. And in fact, one of our members asked me to go to the hospital to see her brother, who was dying. And he didn't go. He just could not find himself going because he was afraid that he was going to catch it, that it would infect him, that he would die. And he got very honest with us and told us that. And the member, his member, was naturally very angry at his lack of response and lack of compassion, considering the fact that he spoke as a pastor. And he became, I think, very connected to us after that. Sorry. Just became very involved with it. And did this turnaround where he became a real advocate. So each year when we had on World AIDS Day, we had a service to remember people who had died, but also to give hope to people who were living. He was right there at the forefront. He was standing up, speaking loudly and vigorously. And that to me was so important, because sometimes we feel like there are people who don't want to deal with this, who are against it, who are against people living with HIV, but they're the ones who, thank you, they're the ones who, when they evolve, as we say these days, or I guess the word that's come around now is when they're woke, they finally are able then to speak loudly and passionately. And so we should never, I don't think we should ever count anybody out. Even the person who seems to be the most against somebody with HIV or still feels this lack of concern, compassion, we shouldn't count them out until we have been able to speak with them, talk with them. And one of the beautiful things with Charlotte that I always will remember is she would talk to people. She would engage them. She would share her story honestly and openly, and would give people the strength and the determination that they needed to then step forward and to hopefully pay it forward, as we say. You know, make the next person aware of what's happening, and that they are cared for. And I guess speaking in religious terms, our belief is that God loves all people, everyone, no matter who they are, how they speak, how they look. God is with them. And it seems to me that the people who believe that should also be the ones who are the face of that compassion, that care, and that love. And I will sit here and tell you that this beautiful woman sitting next to me has been that face to so many of us. She has given us this determination. Every time she comes back out of the hospital, when you think that this is the last time she's going to go in, she comes out stronger and with more determination. That's what this is all about. That's what this HIV and Aging Conference has been now for 10 years. That I think we have been trying to say to the larger community that it's not something that just on World AIDS Day we should be concerned about. Because I remember reporters that day calling us at our various offices wanting to do a story on AIDS on that day. And we would tell them, most of us would say to them, it's not just a December the 1st World AIDS Day thing. It's an everyday thing that people are living with and dealing with always. And again, Charlotte has been that wonderful, beautiful face. I mean, after all, being able to look at somebody beautiful and hear their story makes it all the better. So, he's wonderful.
Thank you, Roger. That is a beautiful way of wrapping up this session, and we thank you so much. Let's all please give Charlotte a wonderful round of applause.